In a time and place when dying alone seems like a real option.
Two ladies in their mid to late 27s are trying not to.
And they're calling it dating in your 30s and beyond.
Welcome to the Thunderdome, bitch.
The ladies are getting ultra vulnerable about relationship.
We both cry in this episode.
From age differences to the X factor.
This is all very awkward, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
This is the Workationing Podcast.
So we've been threatening to have this episode, this relationship episode, for a long time.
Yeah, it's something that we've actually been talking about for like
over a year.
Yeah, just over a year.
We've got so much to say, and actually we've got so much to say that we tried to record this podcast. This is lucky number trace.
Yeah, you know, I feel like this one's going to take.
It is. The struggle that we ran into is that it kept going so long and we had so much to say and we were just like, maybe this should be a three-parter, actually.
Yeah, so I think that's how it's going to end up being. And so what you have in this episode is one facet of the relationship overall story, which is dating in your 30s.
And beyond. Welcome to the Thunderdome, bitch.
No, for real. For real, though. Welcome
to the Thunderdome.
Right?
Just like, welcome to the jungle.
Right?
Just like play that gif on repeat. Seriously, Axl Rose coming in hot with just like, it's not fun and games.
No, this shit is not for pussies. I should have, in retrospect, I should have tapped out early. I, as some of you may know, have been engaged a few times. And
how many times does that count?
A few.
Just a few, as in 1, 2, how many?
Well, not a couple of times.
Okay. Not quite a handful, though.
Yeah. Well, more than a couple, less than a handful.
Listen, I have a divorce under my belt.
I feel like I maybe should have stuck with one of those dudes because I did not. I really thought I was like, I'll find something better. I don't know, man. It's pretty bad out here.
And we want to be honest with you, our dear listeners. It's important to us. We're going to be vulnerable in this 3-part series. I'm not particularly excited about it. Quite frankly, what I'm most excited about is the fact that we launched our workationing course.
Yeah, no, that is really exciting. Speaking of things that we have been working on for a really long time and talking about for a really long time, it's really been like a 2 years in the making process of putting together this course for workationing. And it's called Zero to Digital Nomad, and it's everything that people need to transition to a life of location independence whether you want to stay at home, work in your yoga pants, or travel the world like we do. That's the number one question that we get. We get letters from fans all the time, and that's like the number one thing that people ask. And so we've put this course together and we've priced it like crazy low because we do online trainings all the time, and we charge a bunch of them when we're selling them to corporations or whatever. We priced it low for people who are ready for it. We're just excited to see what's going to happen with this. So if you're interested in that, check out the Workationing Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/workationing.
That's facebook.com/groups/workationing.
Yep. And then you can come in there. That's our Facebook group. We're in there all the time. We'll answer any of your questions. It can be about, getting into remote work. It can be stuff about the podcast. It's kind of a choose your own adventure, whatever you guys want. If you want to join us in there, we talk about all that. And then if you have questions about the course, we'll be able to hook you up with all that information.
Yeah, we also have, I own a digital marketing agency.
Do you?
I do. And, Kel, it represents several national brands, but also tech startups. We're in the crypto space. Because you manage PR and social media for one of those household name brands.
I do that.
And so if you don't have the skills to go digital, we also have training courses that will teach you how to SEO, write content, manage social media marketing, do digital PR, kind of like we've got a lot of great stuff that will give you what you need to know to untether your life. And I'm very excited about it, but I'm not excited about talking about this dating shit.
No.
It's not pretty.
No, there's a reason that we haven't talked about it. And it's because it's like really vulnerable to talk about. It's terrible to talk about how bad it is. Actually, I had an experience this weekend where I was just hanging out with someone who I met on Tinder. And at one point I literally just cried and was just like, it's hard and I don't know what I'm doing. And this person is kind of going through a similar thing also. And it was just
You cried together?
I cried.
Or you cried separately?
No, I cried. He did
You cried in front of him? I want to make sure that I am...
Yes, I cried like in front of him. He was also having feelings, but he was processing them in a manly way. But you know,
men can cry too. I won't have this like in a manly way.
I feel that's his... That's not a judgment. I just feel like his way of processing, I just don't think that he would cry in front of me. But you know me.
Right.
I'm a real crier.
Yeah, you do. You like a sad, slow, just like
a one tear. Because I'm trying not to. Because like I don't want to be the bitch who cries all the time. So I'm like, I'll be brave. But those tears are just like, no, girl, we're coming. I'm a crier. I'm a big baby.
Okay, so you cried with this guy. So first and foremost, not to jump around too much, I feel like we should say our ages. I know that we like to say that we are in our mid to late 27s.
I like to say that.
I spent a lot of money on Botox and fillers. See also hair extensions to look a skosh younger than I might actually be.
Well, I lie all the time, and I always thought it was so pathetic and thirsty when ladies cared so much about their age, but I didn't know like what a kick in the dick it was going to be over 30.
So I am 35 years old, halfway to 70 if you run that math.
Don't do that.
Girl. And people tell me I'm not middle-aged. Middle-aged isn't hit for another 10, 15
years. No, you keep trying
years.
to drop the M word, and I'm like, you shut your goddamn mouth.
I got mammed while naked. Any listener can go back to our like breakups and expatting depression and getting mammed while naked episode.
Well, that's what you get for going to the naked spa.
You know?
That's why I'm not going.
All right, and so I have told my age. Kelly, how old are you?
Oh, I thought we were going to just like glide on past my age. I'm
girl.
33.
All right, so 35 and 33 respectively. And so you were dating this, you were out with this gentleman caller, and you started crying about what, like how difficult it was?
Yeah, I mean, this wasn't a date.
I'll struggle.
Yeah, it wasn't a date. We had gone out on a date, and for reasons we'll discuss later, like, oh, this was not happening. Like, it's not a romantic prospect. We just want very different things, but like we've been like hanging out because he's cool, you know? And it was just sort of like he just got his heart stepped on, and like that hasn't even actually happened to me lately, but you know, I'm always down for a good cry.
Well, dating in your 30s and beyond, I would say like everyone is damaged. We've got a real scratch and dent situation out here.
That's so true.
Just like the discount aisle, the like what's left over at the flea market.
No, and I include myself in that categorization.
Yeah.
There you go. That was a tough one to spit out.
No, listen, I'm not excluding myself from it either. I've been working with my internet therapist about the like negative self-talk. You know? And so, you know, I shouldn't say what's left over at the flea market, but the vintage shop, if you will.
Right. Like, girl, you're a high-class consignment at the very least.
Yeah. But those lubes have a couple scratches on the bottoms.
Right.
They're not fresh red.
Yeah, but you're not that, like, gross Chanel purse we saw at the flea market.
No, we saw a really broke down Chanel purse, and we were like, "Oh, girl, what happened to you?"
I know. We're like, "Oh no."
Have you been on Tinder too long?
Right?
Were you on OkCupid?
All threadbare and sad.
so sad. But like at this age, everyone's gone through some shit in the 30s and beyond. Because like we'll get into this later in the age portion of this particular episode. But like I've dated guys up to plus 19. You know.
Mm-hmm. Plus 18 for me.
And so, like, and that was when I was in my, you know, still mid to late 27s, I'll say. So, like, at this age, though, I've gone through a divorce. You've been through an indeterminate number of engagements.
Right.
Did you keep all those rings?
No, girl, I sold every last... Well, no, two of them I kept and sold. One of them I, like, only... I never really put it on for like even a full day. Like I kept like putting it on and then like taking it off and being like, no.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah.
That you should just run toward that marriage the rest of your life as soon as you can.
So that one I didn't keep because I never even like fully took possession of that one. I would just like put it on sometimes.
I still have my wedding and engagement rings, although throughout the course of my marriage, I only wore them to weddings and special events.
I loved my engagement rings. Like, I loved all of them. And it was heartbreaking every time. But that's the thing, is that everyone's gone through that. So, like, if you haven't gone through a divorce, you've probably
lived with somebody.
Right? And that's the fucking worst. Because then when you break up, first of all, the breakup takes forever because you don't pull the trigger as quickly when you're like splitting the gas bill. You know what I mean? Like,
no. And then you have to find another apartment, and you better have first and last month saved. And then like you probably don't have complete furniture because there's likely only one bed in the house. And so there are some things that you're going to need to replace, like that bed and maybe the blender. And oh, by the way, he had that coffee machine for years, and it was a really nice one.
Right.
You know?
All the sex toys got to go.
Oh, God. Well, God, we didn't even talk about that. There's a rule. You don't like...
No, there's no double use on that.
No, thank you. No. And if a guy like reaches into his nightstand drawer, I'm just like, can you fucking not, though?
No, I had a guy like literally take one like out of the packaging the other day. And
Did it have cellophane wrap still on it? Did he have to like break that factory seal?
Like, yeah. And I was just like, ooh, like that's what passes for class and romance in your 30s. I was just like, oh, that is a slick move. Like,
So like moving out is always a traumatizing experience, whether you're moving out and getting your own place or your partner is moving out and then you're left with the memories of all of the things that you did together in that space. That's not a great situation.
No. And there's so much fallout from that never really goes away. Like when you really set up a household with someone, you have more than just a relationship. You've got like rhythms and like routines, and you've got like stupid songs that you sing.
Favorite shows that you watch. And now I can't watch that show anymore.
No, you've got like your own, you develop it's almost like, I mean, like you and me, like we almost have our own language. You know what I mean? When you, and so like the intimacy of that is so intense. What's really rough for me every Christmas is that there are like multiple ex-boyfriends that like we went and like bought like a fake Christmas tree together and then like bought all the ornaments for it. And then every Christmas I get to see them pose in front of it with their wife, you know?
How's that feel?
It's fucking great.
That's why you always buy a fresh Christmas tree.
Right? And then I'm just like, how do you feel, girl? It's like, I see that ornament. I bought that one. That was mine.
Yeah, in the house that my mom picked out.
Yeah, for real, right, though? And it's just like, I hope you like living in my life that used to be mine. Which
but
like,
I didn't want, right? You walked away from that.
No, but like, even when you walk away, it's like except for only one of my relationships that I've ever had would I say that like I just wish I had never even done it. You know what I mean? Like there's enough good. If I moved in with somebody, there was enough good there that like I was there for a reason. There are reasons it broke up too, but there were reasons I was there. And like it's tough like to see, you don't quite move past it. Not ever.
Do you always wonder what if? Because I will say that out of my extensive track record of failed relationships, because like really have any of them worked out like massively long term? Clearly not this far. Giving it another shot right now, you know? But for me, the only what if, I've got one what if. Like I've got one past relationship that I'm like, if only, and like maybe things could have changed, or like, and then what if? I've got like one of those, but it's not like dominating my mindset at all. Like overall, I have no regrets. I'm happy. I'm grateful for the things and the experiences that I shared with these people and that they brought into my life. But overall, I don't have regrets about walking away from relationships, because it was an excruciating move every single time that I've done it. It took a lot of time and consideration and like second guessing and self-flagellation. Self-loathing is definitely peppered in that for me consistently. But like, I don't regret walking away, because I did so for very valid reasons. And when I look back on the memory, even the what if relationship, I walked away from that for valid reasons, and I don't regret doing so. And I try to take what I've learned from those relationships and move forward with it. But like, I know that some people really do have a lot of regrets.
I have one big what if, and then I have another one that like I just fantasize about. But honestly, that one, just because it was such a simple and easy and like loving relationship, so like I fantasize about that one sometimes when shit gets hard. But like, I know that one was never actually going to work. But there's another one that like was a much more difficult relationship. But like and I do think I made the right decision. I don't think that we could get there from where we were. You know what I mean? Like that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
But I constantly wish that I could have met that person at this time in my life. Because I think that I would have approached the whole situation very differently. I think I would have been a lot more appreciative of what he brought to the table and a lot less critical of the things that weren't perfect. And if I met that person now, would not have been able to lock him down fast enough.
So I've known you for 10 years. We've known each other for 10 years. And I know exactly which relationship/shit you're talking about.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? But for the listeners, what was your age difference? When did you meet this person in your life? And like, in what ways do you feel like you would be better equipped for that type of relationship, if you don't mind me asking?
No, that's fine.
Than like versus like how you were ill-equipped.
Let's get vulnerable,
before.
you know?
Right?
Like I was 24 and he was 8 years older than me. And the things that were great about that relationship was that I don't think anyone's ever like really loved me for me the way that he did. I honestly think I've been loved more deeply, but those people were in love with something that like wasn't real.
Right.
I feel like that was the one person that I dated that saw me. Mm-hmm. And I think...
Oh, and I recognize that he saw you too. Like it was... we hold these truths to be self-evident.
Yeah, no, like
he
fucking loved me.
Oh, yeah, demonstrated it too. Like it was very clear yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways, like his love for me, like introduced me to myself, you know? Like, I don't want to cry, but like, you know, like I didn't really know who I was until somebody who really loved me came along and showed me, you know?
Right.
And that was like really a powerful experience. And like there were things about that relationship that were like tough and there were things that were hard for us. But I also look back and see that like I was really selfish and that I was like really prickly and like not open to feedback. And that I just think that like even though it wasn't perfect and there were things that I think that no matter what would have continued to be a problem always, like you start to realize that like there is no perfect match out there and that like everybody brings shit to the table. And I just think that if I had met that person later in life that I could have been more mature about it and that we could have worked through it. And I think that I felt like that he was really like rigid and that like he wouldn't give in on anything, but I don't think I ever saw how rigid I was.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I just think that I was extraordinarily immature. But also I was very young, you know. That's what you get, boys.
Listen,
when you go pick up some like early 20s chick because she seems like she'll be a good time. She'll be a good time, but she'll shit all over your life. I've done that. Multiple men have therapists who know a lot about me. I know that.
Okay, listen, we're gonna get to the age thing in a minute. It's a sensitive topic for me personally. You know, we'll get to that. But like. Even not having a relationship by a certain age is a huge red flag. So, like, I know guys in their 40s. I know guys. So, like, let's say you are in your mid to late 30s or beyond, right? Male or female. If your longest relationship is, like, less than 2 years, that's a red flag. If your longest relationship is, like, 6 months, it's, like, 5 red flags.
Yeah, no, that's a huge thing. So like you can't get away from it. Like no matter what, if you're dating in your 30s, whether you've had multiple relationships and breakups or whether you've had none, like you're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Like everybody's got, like you just literally don't get to your 30s without being fucked up. It's not a thing. It's just not a thing.
No, it's like welcome to the Thunderdome, bitch. Right? And also this is like why I rely so much on my internet therapist. Actually, and Kelly and I talk a lot. You have an internet therapist.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you know and love. Mm-hmm. Get great benefit from. And we love our internet therapist so much that we have an affiliate relationship with BetterHelp. So if you go to betterhelp.com/workationing, you will get 7 days of free internet therapy. And you get to talk to your internet therapist like 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Chat them. You can schedule a Skype session with them if you want to go like face to face. I never go for that option. It's so much cheaper than
real. Like what you'll pay in a month for internet therapy is about what you'd pay for just like a session if you were paying out of pocket.
No, I think you get like multiple months for that. It's crazy cheap.
No, it's so cheap. It's like really, really cheap.
It's like $100 a month, I want to say,
and then you
for
have more
unlimited
access to this person.
Yeah, unlimited internet therapy instead of having to go like once a week and then physically go there if you can like get your shit together to make it there. I have meetings unscheduled that pop up all the time. Just like I can't get there from here sometimes.
Right.
That the internet therapy solves that problem. So again, that's betterhelp.com/workationing. And if you don't put in the /workationing, I don't think therapy works.
I mean, it's hard to tell, but I wouldn't risk it if I were you.
So the last point we have before we get to the age section of this particular podcast, I'm not looking forward to that, is, Kel, do you want to take the lead on this one? Because you're saucier than I am. I was raised Mormon. I am prudish-ish, well, like heavy on the ish by nature.
Right. So we're all damaged, and you see that in all kinds of ways. Like, I'm not as open as I used to be. I know that. You know what I mean? Like, we all have shit, and you've got to negotiate your shit and other people's shit. But here's the other thing.
I don't know how you spent your 20s and early 30s, but girl, I spent mine just like building all kinds of walls.
Yeah. No, I really
just like brick by brick.
No, I remember being like a very open person, and that's not the feedback that I get now. So, okay. But
I thought that I was a very laid back person.
Well, I don't know why you thought that, though.
No, I was sitting on the couch one day, and I forget the context of how it came up, but like in my least self-aware moment in the history of my existence, I think, or at least top 3.
Probably.
I looked over at Kelly, and I was just like, I feel like people think that I'm very laid back.
No, and I laughed in your face, and I apologized while I was laughing, but like through tears because I couldn't stop laughing. And
I was very true. This is an
and I was like, I
description.
know that you feel vulnerable right now, and I shouldn't be laughing at you, and I'm really trying not to. But like, it was the funniest thing I'd ever heard because you just was like, I just feel like I'm a really laid back person, and I was like, girl, no.
You told me that I was probably the most high strung person you had ever met, and I was just like, oh, well, that's a piece of feedback that I wasn't expecting. I'm going to file that away and then run tell that to my internet therapist.
Right.
But all right, so let's get to this.
So we all have issues, but here's the other thing about your 30s that's a fun surprise, is that like, whereas dating in your early 20s, let's say, is just like a bunch of like drunken missionary, by your 30s,
we all went to college, right? We know what that's like.
Right? Like I swear to God, everybody's into some weird sex shit. And I'm not even like 100% mad at it. Like, I'm an open-minded lady, and I like to dabble. But it's just like, it's so weird. It's so weird out here.
Well, and I think that you get it worse than I do, for sure, because I think people fetishize your body type more than they do mine. But yeah, I second that. There are all these like wannabe Christian gray types, but like, do they even know how to do that?
But they don't even know how. Like it's so brutal. Like, how many of them are just like, I don't know if I don't know. The whole 50 Shades of Grey ruined a lot of things, and the thing that it ruined the most was any kind of kink, because now everyone on the street feels like they know how to do it, and like, so it's so rare that someone actually does. But then on top of that, it's just like, now it's part of the dating conversation, and then the people who are left, a lot of the people who are, there's a decent percentage of the people who are left on the market out here who are out here because nobody wants to do their weird sex shit all the time. Because here's the thing, is that like, when somebody has weird sex shit, it is rare that that person just wants to do it kinda or like sometimes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like an every night food.
It becomes like an all the time. And I'm very open-minded, and like, I'm into like all, but like I'm not willing to take on a lifetime of pretending to be into your kink. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be compatible in that way. And then suddenly like people are leading with that. And I try to be compassionate about it, because I understand that there are a lot of dudes out there who like have some kind of weird sex thing, and they're just looking for some lady to do it with them.
Well, nobody's here to shame. Well, so also I will say that you and I, over the course of our career, and because of our careers in digital marketing, working with brand ambassadors, we work with several MD and PhD sex therapists and doctors in the sexual health space.
Yeah, and I think we've learned some shit.
We learned all kinds of things. And so like, I didn't come to the party from a place of judgment anyway, right. Regardless. That's like not, so like whatever you're into is like at least fine to communicate to me, because I'm all about the consent. And so I can say yay or nay, and it could be a hard no for me, and that's okay. I'm not going to say it like that. I'm just going to be like, that's not really my bag, but if it's that important to you, you should probably go find another partner, because I'm just never going to be able to get there from here. But what I'm getting at with the like sex therapist and the like sex doctors that we've worked with over the years, and I go to the National Sex Ed Conference every year, have for several. So like I've been exposed to a lot of shit, but like scientifically, like physiologically, what happens to a lot of people, especially when you get to a certain age, is that like if you can only get off one way and from like a certain kind of stimulus, whatever that stimulus might be, then like you can trigger your brain to only be able to get off that way. And so if that's like sex in a certain position and in a certain way, and that's the only way you can get off, or like pick your poison, right? But it like limits you basically train your brain that that's the only way you're going to be able to
No, and now your
orgasm.
partner's on that, locked into that too now.
Right. And you can break yourself of that, but you need to consciously do so. And it means like not doing that particular thing.
And a lot of people aren't willing to do that.
No.
And no, it's really tough. And then you need to have somebody who's compatible with you. Because like, listen, I'm not trying to act like I don't have some weird sex shit, because I've got some weird sex shit. I at least feel not that limited by it, because like I've got some like weird preferences or whatever, but none of it is like so necessary that like if I don't get it, I can't enjoy sex.
All I have is no comment.
Okay, girl.
I got just like I'm coming in hot with the no comment. Just like I didn't hear that question.
Okay, girl. So she's not normal is what she's trying to say.
You know what? I'm not even gonna get shut. Hush. She's like,
no, but it's like it's a sexual compatibility thing, because when you're all in like your early 20s and you're figuring sex out, everyone's just kind of like doing stuff, and like nobody really knows what they want or what they like. Right.
And
but then you get to your 30s and suddenly everybody has like some real particular preferences. And so then you've got to find somebody who like shares those with you like enough.
Right. Exactly. Because that's important. It's an important factor. And I have learned this the hard way.
Yeah. No, it is. I have had really good relationships that I couldn't make work because like the sex thing didn't work.
Girl, sometimes love just ain't enough.
No. And especially like, I don't know, like if you're someone who like your sexuality is like a big part of your identity, especially in a relationship, which I would definitely say about myself, I can't make it work without that. And it just like adds another layer of complication, because it's just like the sex stuff is so complicated and so nuanced and so like vast, you know, that like to find somebody that is not even compatible, because like you're never really going to find that either. Compatible enough. Like compatible enough.
You'll settle for compatible enough. Like
I do your weird things sometimes, you do my weird things sometimes, you know?
Right. You know, sometimes it's your time to take out the trash.
Right. Exactly. Listen, I'll show up, girl. I'm a team player.
It's true. You are. I've been your roommate. Like, you know. Okay. So with that said, let's move on, because I am feeling very uncomfortable.
You're so like clutching
extra
your
red.
pearls over
I am.
there.
Well, so I just got back from Antalya, Turkey.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell if you were blushing right now, because you're sunburned as a motherfucker.
The most incredible place. Like Turkey, I'll have to talk about it at some point. Not right now, because it's germane to fucking nothing. But like Turkey is incredible. I look forward to going back. But like I sat on a beach in Antalya, and I got a new swimsuit, a new two-piece. I looked pretty good in it. Yos's work has been like doing good stuff. But I underestimated the UV rays out there, and I got sunburned on a level that like I told
you not to get sunburned, and you came back in here looking like a fresh lobster, and I was like, well, damn, girl.
No, I know. I'm so greasy all the time because I just keep like slathering lotion on it.
We're just gonna push recording those video assets to next week, when you don't look like you just came out of a hot fire.
Listen, I'll just wear a turtleneck and some pancake makeup. I'll be fine. The show must go on.
Right.
All right. So, yeah, I'm blushing. That was a bit much. Now we're getting to my least favorite section of this episode.
Yeah. So the next issue that becomes just abundantly apparent, and this, I feel like I was kind of warned, but I should have been warned more. You know?
Sex and the City. So when I watched Sex and the City in my early 20s, when it like first came out or finished, let's not focus on the dates there. But like I was like, who are these thirsty bitches? And like, why are they so like, can somebody get them a glass of water? Because it seems to me like they're doing pretty fine. And why are they just like chomping at the bit for these dudes?
No, and it was so like the desperation. It's just like, you can't even, it was uncomfortable to watch. And it was the thing that like made me, like, I believe that I loved the show. I've always loved the show. But it was like the one thing that I was just sort of like, you guys really, it almost felt like anti-feminist, because it was like, are these women really so weak and so desperate and so pathetic that like you watch how the desperation around finding a relationship starts to like really like damage them and make them smaller. And like it's a part of the show that I didn't really like. But goddamn, girl.
It's the motherfucking prophecy.
It is.
Because as a gringa does when going through a breakup, you might binge watch, I don't know, the entire Sex and the City series. And
don't you like that tradition? I introduced Carrie to this. This is what I do. Whenever I go through a breakup, I have to watch all of Sex and the City. Actually, if it's a particularly bad breakup, I follow that up with watching all of Dawson's Creek, which is a whole other issue. But like,
I'm gonna tap out on that.
Yeah,
one.
you're not gonna do that.
No,
but
I'm not signing up for that.
But it's good though. No, like honestly, ladies, if you're going through a breakup, you start Sex and the City, season 1, episode 1, and you watch the whole thing until it's finished. You take your time, however long it takes, but you're gonna work through some shit.
No, you will. It helps to have a friend there. Also, maybe an internet therapist, because I have not just like ugly cried. Just heaving sobs.
No, we cry like every episode.
No, sometimes we hold hands.
Carrie and I cry and hold hands on the couch a lot. Just know that. I don't know why everyone thinks we're lesbians.
I know, right? Just and watching it again. So I hadn't seen it since my early 20s, and now I'm 35. Recently went through a pretty substantial breakup, and I was just like, this is my life,
right?
Just like Carrie DePhillips, this is your life. And I was just like, no, when? Stop it. All of those stories, down to the goddamn breast cancer, myself or my friends have gone through.
No, literally everything.
Shaving pubes, check. Not me, maybe somebody else. I had a friend.
No, and we even have like a little like foursome group of girls who are BFFs here.
Yes.
And like each of us is like very clearly one of them. And like it's
uncanny.
And we're all single, and just like the struggle is so fucking real. But no, literally everything, all those like quirky little vignettes, the weird shit, like the shaving of the pubes, the like,
can we get off of the pube shaving, please?
Let's talk about it some more.
No, let's talk about like anything else. What's another scene that has happened?
I'm really locked in on that one now.
I don't know. My hands are sweating for my friend.
Right? For your friend.
For my friend.
But like all of that shit has happened. Like all of it. And you're just like, oh no.
No, dating younger dudes, dating older dudes, dating successful dudes, dating guys your age, cheating on them. Like,
right. Like
who doesn't have friends who have done this? Right? And shit gets messy sometimes. And it's just like, oh, girl, why did you like do that?
No, it's so real. The show to me when I was younger seemed a little frivolous, a little silly, and honestly a little anti-woman. And now I realize that it is the truth and that I should have been taking notes, you know?
Girls, ladies, guys, go watch this. There are archetypes, right? And like you might, did I pronounce that correctly? Your archetypes?
Girl, you
archetype, ARCHETYPES.
Yeah, I feel like you either way. I would say archetypes.
I can spell the fuck out of that.
I know you can, girl. You're a real reader.
I can use it in a sentence,
right?
You know, but anyway, ARCHETYPES, archetypes. Or archetypes.
No, you're doing fine. I just feel like you thought I had a face, but I think I was just like trying not to burp into the mic.
Okay, all right. I was like, oh no, I thought I knew that one. Sometimes those like jump up and bite you.
Right.
Anyway, you watch the show and you see parts of yourself in some characters. You see parts of your friends in some characters. You can identify with all of it once you get to a certain age. And it's just like, okay, there's in the final season, Candice Candice Bergen's character. Thank you.
You were thinking Jack Berger. You've been too deep.
I fell too far down that rabbit hole. Mm-hmm. But Candice Bergen's character is brilliant. And she plays an editor for Vogue, of Vogue in her 50s. And at one point she confronts Carrie because Carrie has this like age appropriate for Candice Bergen's character boyfriend who is a famous artist and should want Candace Bergen.
Right.
Except for
because that's
he's
like
with
her contemporary and her peer.
Right.
But
Except
he
for,
is not looking at her.
No, he's all up on Carrie.
Because of course he's not.
And he wants Carrie to quit her career so she can follow him to Paris or wherever the fuck.
Right.
Right, which is like another section of this episode that we're going to get to. But like, we took a brief detour down Sex and the Cityville, but like, at the end of the day, age is a huge factor in relationships. And it's not just like where you are at or your partner is at in their stage of life. Because when you're talking plus 10 or more, you're in totally different life phases.
Completely.
Your careers are in completely different places. Probably.
No, when I was in my 20s, I was consistently dating people who were 10 years or older than me. And I think part of it is that actually I do think that there's a bigger difference between 30 and 40 than there is between 20 and 30. I think that that's just true. But like,
wait, say that again? Because I think that there's a bigger difference between 20 and 30 than there is 30 and 40.
Oh, that's interesting. No, maybe it's just because this is where I am right now. I can see how I might change my mind on that. I just feel like, I don't know. I felt like maybe it's just because in my 20s, I was delusional enough to think that I had enough in common with these people who were in their 30s.
No, I felt very grown up. So like talking about the age difference, and FYI, this is not great for the ladies. This will have you run into your internet therapist.
I'm going to scream into your pillow
According
about this
to
one.
OkCupid, and OkCupid has the most.
Like the largest
stats.
database.
It is insane. And it makes sense, right? So OkCupid keeps all these stats and bless them and save me. Jesus, take the wheel, because like they release these stats.
Right.
And one of the most shocking to me, but I guess it makes sense, like I know this to be true in the back of my mind, but who wants to admit it, is that like men consistently, no matter what their age, on up to 55 years old, prefer women to date who are between the ages of 20 and 23 years old.
No, but wasn't it just like fucking raining men when you were 20 to 23
Yes, and I thought it was always going to be that way because I had zero frame of reference. And
and I wasn't even fucking with dudes my age at that age, because why would I, when there were all of these like rich hot dudes, which like to this day I really feel like men like really reach their prime in like 35 to 40. Like I'm just glad to be at an age where it's like kind of like where it's like finally appropriate for me to date people who are the age that I've always found the hottest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like a 35 to 40 year old man is just like a thing to behold. Like he's like really stepped into his manliness, you know? And it's
I would even exchange that or extend that a little bit older.
No, I could go up to like 35 to 45. I would say it's just like a man's sweet spot. You're just like, yes. You know?
Yeah, he's really coming into his own.
Right. And so I had dudes like that who were just like in their fucking prime, who had awesome jobs and like houses and shit. And they would like come and like, you know.
White knight you?
Oh, all over the place. Because believe that I was a mess who was working at the mall, who was like kind of going to school sometimes, but not really, you know? And like these dudes were just coming out of nowhere. And I thought I was hot shit. And I could, and I just had like a bevy of like rich, hot, attractive dudes who wanted to just like waste all their time on my bullshit. And I thought that party wasn't ever going to end. But skirt. Girl, the party's over.
I haven't had, you know, you and I have different dating experiences. It's been a little bit different, but it's still been like, now my new fear is that like, all right, this guy wants to date me, but like chances are he's going to cheat on me with that 23-year-old Claire Danes shop girl.
No, and so you're like, suddenly you're running the math.
Constantly running the math.
No, and here's the thing, when we talk about like being damaged and like how not being as open and that sort of thing. You know what's really not sexy is like somebody who's running the math. You know what I mean? But I can't stop myself from running the math.
No, because talking about damage, like here's a not. I had a friend, this actually happened to me. When I was 22, 23 years old, I was working at a bar downtown, finishing up my not degree because I ended up ditching that to go into advertising. But long story short, I'm bartending at a pretty decent bar. You know, we used to go to it.
Yes, girl, yeah.
You know?
And they had a vodka lemonade that was just like really something special.
Their Southwestern Caesar salad.
It was so dope, but it had like a gajillion calories.
Yeah, we don't talk about that because like I thought that it was a diet food.
Yeah, you're like,
Not the case. That was not the case. The lie detector test determined that was a lie. That was definitely a lie. But anyway, so I was working at this like hip, cool downtown bar, and I was behind the bar, and this dude came up and he like said all the right things, and he was 37 years old, which puts him right in that sweet spot we were talking about. Do you know what I mean? And he was from DC. I was in Pittsburgh, and you know, he was staying at the hotel across the street, and he like romanced me. And I played it coy and everything, and like had some drinks with him, but did not go up to his hotel room because I'm a lady.
Yes, girl.
You know, or at least that's how I like to tell the story. And so, I ended up dating this guy for a year and a half, except for I'm in Pittsburgh. And at that point, like I very shortly after I met him, I got my job in advertising. And so I'm like working as an ad exec downtown, and he is in DC, and I'm like 23, he's 27. I think the whole thing is very glamorous. You know, I fly out to DC all the time, and he takes me to his house, and it's like cute, and we play like, you know, boyfriend, girlfriend for the weekend. And then like a year and a half into the relationship, and actually a shitty coincidence, it happened to be on the 1-year anniversary of my mom's death, that I get a phone call, and it was like, so I'm Jeff's wife.
Girl, that phone call is the worst.
And I'm like, excuse me, what? You know, dude had a second house that he was taking me to. And like, I didn't know that it was his second house. I thought that it was his, you know, and I really had no idea. I felt super bad. I found out on just like the most shitty day. And like, of course, I never saw that guy again, and I was completely devastated. And then like a year later, he came creeping back around and was like, so I got divorced. Do you want to come live with me in Florida? And I was like, it's a not for me, dog.
Right,
with the side of like,
fuck
off into the sunset forever, and I'm going to block you in like every conceivable way. And so I haven't heard from that guy since, and for the best, but like that really stuck with me. And so, you know, I knew that I couldn't go down and live this like crazy dream life that he was pitching me in Florida, because there was no way that I was ever going to trust that asshole, because in 10 years, he's going to be fucking around. You know, he's going to find a new shop girl, not to keep referencing the amazing Steve Martin film.
No, like I've gotten that call, honestly, a few times, and every single time it's so fucking brutal. And now it's to the point where like I will just and see, once again, this is like the damage shit and like the stuff about being older. Is it like, I do think maybe it puts people off sometimes, but like when I meet somebody on Tinder and like if anything strikes me as weird for even a second, I will just outright ask you if you're married. You know what I mean?
It's a fair question,
because
in this
like
day and age and
like
out in these
but like
streets.
Girl, like I'd say a good like 95% of the time when that spidey sense is tingling, I'm not wrong.
No. And so now I've got this whole new, talk about scratch and dent. So now I've got this awareness, right? And not just through my particular situation, but I have seen this play out over the course of many people's lives over the years, right? The same fucking thing is that the guy goes for a younger chick and he leaves his partner, and she's just like, and sometimes they have kids, and that's like difficult to see, you know?
Right.
But a guy can just like leave that situation. The lady's almost always left taking care of the kids. If she's lucky, how often is actually 50-50
because men get to
custody
call
a
a
thing?
mulligan on having kids. Like they're allowed to move a couple towns over, be like, oh, I got a job over here, bye. And he keeps those checks coming, and he sees those kids like every other weekend or something, and like he's father of the year for not like disappearing.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For showing up.
Yeah, for just like being marginally involved and keeping those checks coming, he gets a fucking medal. But then a mother who doesn't have custody of her, like full custody basically of her own children, everyone's like, so is it a drug thing or?
Yeah, that's an unfortunate consideration that ladies have to deal with. But then also like there are cases obviously where paternal rights is a real issue in the U.S. actually. Like it can be difficult for men who really want half or more time custody for the kids actually get that.
Both ways for sure.
But it does. But like traditionally in a lot of cases, ladies are the ones left with the
like
day-to-day
a woman doesn't
child
have
rearing.
an option.
No,
not really. Like your own family's not going to talk to you if you don't have your kids.
Right. It's just like socially it's one thing, right? But like what I'm now hyper aware of is the fact that like, okay, so we have different dating experiences. I have a decent amount of high quality male suitors, but for me, the question is, well, who's not going to ditch me in 5 years? You know?
Right.
For like the newer model. Because I see that happen. So it's not just like...
A man's stock is kind of always going up. It's like, even if a man hasn't really accomplished a whole hell of a lot, by the time he's 40, he still looks like the dude who's just kind of in charge around here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like a woman at 40 doesn't look that way. So she better have all the receipts and all of the network and all of the power and all of the influence before she gets there, because otherwise she's never going to be able to collect it. You know what I mean? And a man just shows up and is 40 and doesn't need to have done shit. And people will be like, oh, we should probably listen to what this guy has to say because he looks like my dad. You know, like that's just the difference between aging for men and women. And I don't think that women... I wish that more people had told me. I like look at all the older women in my life and I'm like, where were you? Somebody should have told me. I didn't realize how much time I was wasting in my 20s. I had no idea how much time I was wasting, and that like how critical that was going to be. And I really didn't think that my 30s were going to be that different from my 20s. And I was fucking wrong.
It's true. And I think the frequency only gets higher when you reach your 40s and your 50s.
No, and now you're in this place where it's like you're doing the math, right? Because you can have someone who, because like I still date guys in their 30s all the time. In fact, I have dated guys younger than me in the last year. Like, I mean, it's not like it's not a possibility. None of those things have gone super well, but like it's possible. But you're like, so I ideally would kind of, I don't know, it seems nice to find somebody who would be like my actual peer, who's like where they, you know, like building their career and like at the stage that I am, and that we could like really run together and that we could really like create something together that really appeals to me. But at the same time, the reality is that like guys who are my age, not even my age, like I'm 33, and like if I date a guy who's like 38, probably he'd rather be dating like a 25-year-old or like, you know what I mean? And that's just the reality.
Right.
Because I was dating 38-year-olds when I was 25.
Even 25 or 28 is 5 years younger.
Right. So then it's like, all right, so it makes sense for me in some ways to consider older. And we've both dated older, so it's not like that's a problem for me. Right. But at the same time, when I was in my early 20s dating people in like their late 30s, I don't know, they still felt pretty young to me. And like, as it's not that like the age is a problem, but they're like lifestyle considerations. Like, because a guy who's like 45 to 50 is very willing to consider a 33-year-old. Like, I feel like honestly, when I look at what's available to me, most people are going to fall into that demographic, the like 45 to 50-year-old demographic. But then I'm talking about a man who's like basically had his career, or like the bulk of it, at least the striving part of it, the part where you're like growing and, you know, doing the things I'm doing. So like now the question, and how willing is a man who is in that age bracket going to be to like stay there and to be supportive of me while I continue to strive? You know what I mean? Because what I'm not going to do is stop caring about my career, because like they're looking to slow down, but like I'm not anywhere near slowing down.
Right. Right. Yeah, you're still in,
and I don't
ramping
want
up
to, because what I'm not going to do is walk away from my career for some guy who, like, even if he gets to be fucking 60, might still leave me for somebody 10 years younger.
Seriously. Like, no, honestly, it's a legit concern. And so I've got an anecdote from the plus 19 guy, redacted. You may recognize that from previous episodes, but like, so redacted, we dated for a short period of time, but we knew each other for a long time, and we're still friends, and, you know, we talk. And so after we dated, the next person that he dated, so I was 19 years younger. He went ahead and dated, let me run the math on that, 28, 26?
I think it was 28. It's a lot. It's more than a quarter of a century.
No, she was 25 and he 54, 53. Right? And she seems awesome by all calculations.
No,
right?
She seems legitimately rad.
But what he told me is that in talking about the appeal of her, because, you know, there's a large age difference there. You know,
yeah.
When your girlfriend is like 2 years older than your kid, it's a consideration.
The quick factor on that is like on another level.
Well, I'm not here to judge, but like what
that's all I'm here for.
No, well, what he said was, you know, the reason why she likes me is because I'm seasoned. Pause. like an old pan. And I paused because I was horrified by this, and then I was extra horrified by the explanation that I already knew. But like, she likes him because he's seasoned like an old pan, and he likes her because she's like untouched by the world.
Like, excuse me while I throw myself.
Somebody's about to touch her.
No,
right? That world's about to slap her in the face, and like who's
she's gonna be touched real hard, and now she's gonna be all fucked up, and like, you did that, and like, how fun was that for you that you got to enjoy her innocence? But like,
no, he specifically said like untainted, and I was just like, okay, well, like, that milk's not gonna be so white.
No, and it's so difficult. It's so difficult to realize that, like, when I was honestly at my shittiest, like, in my early 20s, I was useless. I was entitled. I couldn't follow through on anything. No one could count on me for shit. I had no real skills of any kind. I was very much drunk a lot of the time. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't do my laundry. You know what I mean? Like, that was like not even a thing.
Well, I know 25-year-olds who are more functional than that, you know?
No, but that's the thing, is that I'm like owning to the fact that like I was a particularly non-functional early, I was
a real type B personality.
I was a hot mess express. Like, it was not good. And yet it was raining men, eligible, rich, attractive, emotionally available men who were like worth the damn, wanted to marry me. And now it's like I'm in my 30s. I like really know how to like show up for somebody. I've got a career. I am interesting. I have seen some shit. I take responsibility for myself. I am self-aware, and I can't get a text back.
No, girl,
you know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? Like, it's not.
You're taking the people to church right now.
I'm just like so stressed.
No, I understand. And then, but also the stress of like picking the wrong partner and then having him or her dip out on you once you're all emotionally invested is like a real fear.
No, because like the time thing, right? The time thing becomes such an issue because every time I get into a relationship, that's like 2 to 4 years of my life. And I am 33. And so I'm like really, really looking for it, but I'm also extraordinarily trigger shy because what I can't do
is burn more daylight.
No, what I can't do is make a mistake. What I can't do is be like, I'm really lonely and this kind of works. And so I'm going to like
fall down this rabbit hole for 5 years.
Force this square peg into this round hole. And then suddenly I'm 37, 38 trying to start this process all over again.
And how many more times do you have that in you?
And that's the other thing.
Like, at what point are you know?
No, that's why I cried on that dude this weekend.
At what point do you have purple hair?
Because
you're at the nursing home and you're still like trying to make it work.
No, that's why I cried this weekend is because I was just like, it was just being like somebody hadn't really like, I hadn't like talked that openly about it, you know, with like anybody but you. And we were just like talking openly about relationships. And I was just like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know how much more I can do this, you know? Like every single time it takes something from you and like it hurts you and like you get a little more closed off and you get a little bit more scared and you get a little bit more cautious and it's just like, you know, and you're waiting for somebody to like show up and like make it safe for you and like white knight you or whatever, but like they've been through it all too and like you're just like a bunch of broken people like trying to figure out how to make it work. But
we are just trying to make it work. And there's also like, again, public perception and how does that look? So like, I'm not afraid of dating an older gentleman. I actually, you know, like that to an extent. It's not bad for me.
I don't hate it.
No, but like the guy I'm dating now, Nico, is 45 years old, right? Mm-hmm. And he looks 40. He's like a rugged, good-looking 45, you know. But
Nico's a good-looking guy.
He's got a certain amount of gravitas. And he
actually has like an extra dose of gravitas,
you know, and he's got that deep voice and he speaks with authority and he speaks 7 different languages and he's an entrepreneur and he flies planes, you know, does a lot of stuff. But like when I am next to him and I like to, again, think that I look young with my Botox and fillers and stuff, like I am hyper aware of that like trophy situation. And it's like, but I'm not that. I've got my own accomplishments and you know, I don't mean to come from a place of non-abundance here, but I am aware of what people's first impressions might be upon first glance. And then I'm combating that and like understanding what a situation looks like. And I don't mean to overthink things, and I don't mean to be hyper aware. I do work in PR, and so I'm a little extra aware of certain things, but like being aware of what you look like next to your partner, and if it looks like you're going to the same party, and like how do you interact as a couple, like all of these things, or then how you're perceived as a couple. And like with a very large age difference, it becomes incredibly difficult for a lady to be taken seriously in the shadow of that type of man.
No, because what they think that you did is that like you just like hit the escape hatch, you know? And like there's actually a great line in Rick and Morty, because there's like Morty and then his sister Summer, and like the parents are talking, and they're just like talking about how Morty needs to be doing better in school, and they're like he's not Summer, he's not a pretty girl, he can't just bail on his own life and set up shop in somebody else's. You know what I mean? Which is like, and believe I've actually,
that is a read, Rick and Morty.
No, and I've been that girl who's just set up her life in someone else's, especially when you're in your early 20s. That's
I've
like
done
a real
that
possibility.
too. I didn't even mean to do it. It's not like I was just like, so I'm going to move into this life. But then at some point you look around and you're like, but this isn't my life and these aren't my choices though.
Right. And
now I'm trapped by somebody else's decisions that they made, and like, no, but where's my room?
No, exactly. And that's why I ultimately ditched out on all of the relationships that I had with older men, was because I always ended up feeling I was actually like a kept woman for a while. You know what I mean?
How was that for you?
Everyone thought that it was very glamorous because like I lived in really nice places and I was very well taken care of. And I really, I was working on my own business, but I was also kind of doing whatever the fuck I wanted. And like I was, like, and it all looked very good from the outside. But then it's like, I really wasn't contributing anything to that relationship financially. Or probably otherwise, but let's focus on the financially. But like, you know what I mean? And so then every fight that became like the ultimate trump card, was like I couldn't like nothing that I ever really said mattered, because at the end of the day, it wasn't my money, it wasn't my choices, it wasn't anything. And so like and then I started to like just feel like an employee, but then I was also like, how am I not an employee though? You know what I mean? Like I literally just get like money,
fair question,
put into my account. And like I'm expected to like do certain things and not do other things. Like and it caused like a real rift between us. And there was no way we were never going to be equals. We were never going to be partners, because like how could we be?
Right.
And so I'm very hesitant to get into another situation like that, because I really do believe too, he wasn't like a controlling or shitty person. I don't think that like he was trying to be that way. I think it was just like the reality of the situation. And I think that he really tried to treat me as a partner and an equal, which is like, you're lucky if you get that in that situation.
No, I agree with that assessment.
But like the reality of the situation was just that like I wasn't an equal. We weren't partners. Not really.
Well, on that note, I really want to get to the next portion. I've got a poem to read that the people are going to like. I have to pee so bad, though.
I do, too. Can we take a quick break? Let's do that. And we're back.
We are. I'm feeling a lot lighter.
I am too, girl. That was necessary. Listen, this was a long one, but I think we're going to let it go long.
Again, we still had to break this into 3 parts. You see how we scratched it twice, because it was just... At what point do we stop? Because I can talk about this for days.
Right.
But then I talk to my friends about it sometimes, and they're like, I don't have anybody to talk to. Like, I have several single friends who don't have other single friends. Everyone else is all coupled up, and it feels like you're going through this all alone, and you're not. It's like everyone's dealing with the same shit. And I talk to my guy friends who are single, and they're dealing with like different variations on a perspective that clearly I don't have. I've heard theirs, but like... it's all valid. And again, we're all like really struggling to be good people and achieve our potential and not fucking die alone if we can help it. Right?
Yeah, I'd really like to not die alone. And like the fear of that is real.
I'm working on it over here. So I came across this poem, and it was like some meme that got shared on Facebook a lot, but I did a deep dive. And Michael Reed wrote this poem, and it's called Dear Woman, but Kelly and I like to refer to it as the small hands poem, because we say that guy has small hands all the time.
Yeah, it's like
not in reference
shorthand for us now.
Not in reference to Trump.
Not in reference to any size of anything else on his body.
No. No, she's like, that man has small hands. And it's in reference to this poem. So like, please excuse me while I read it.
Oh, a dramatic reading.
A dramatic reading.
Settle in.
Poetry. Gather around the fire, listeners. Cozy up with a cup of hot tea. This one, the tea is particularly hot here. So it says, Dear woman, sometimes you'll just be too much woman. Too smart, too beautiful, too strong. Too much of something that makes a man feel like less of a man, which will make you feel like you have to be less of a woman. The biggest mistake you can make is removing jewels from your crown to make it easier for a man to carry. When this happens, I need you to understand you do not need a smaller crown. You need a man with bigger hands. And again, I'll say emphatically, the poem ends, but like for me, the part that really stuck out is the biggest mistake that you can make is removing jewels from your crown to make it easier for a man to carry. Do not make yourself lesser than. I watched my mom do it to just a disastrous end. My dad got the divorce papers in the mail the same day that my mom died. So like she never really got to break free.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And like my whole life growing up, I saw how he consistently tried to, and she shrunk herself down, but she could never shrink herself small enough.
Right. And like it's so difficult because I think that there are a lot of men out there who are intimidated by success, or if not intimidated, like they're just not interested in a woman with success. They're looking for a woman to be like nurturing and like a soft place to land and like somebody that they can take care of and like something that makes them feel like a man, but like I really had a guy tell me that like, that like what like things that make a woman really attractive or like, if she like needs help opening a jar or like killing a spider or whatever. And I'm like, okay, except that like what I need from a man is a lot more than that.
Yeah, I don't need help reaching the top shelf. I can drag a motherfucking stool over there, but like I need other things from a partner that you need to be able to show up for me on. And like,
no, I know how to build a business. I know how to travel the world, girl. Like I know how to do all kinds of fucking shit. Like I bring so much to the table, and that doesn't mean that I don't need a man. I need a man who's on my level though.
So I like to speak in metaphors sometimes.
Yeah, girl, get it.
Pastimes include. And so one that is just like an easy visualization. Also, I grew up on a farm, so it's like it makes sense to me. Is it like throughout the course of your life, and you're born with a tool shed, right? And from the time you start learning things, you start putting tools in that tool shed that you carry around with you your entire life. And sometimes you put new tools into the tool shed. And sometimes you sharpen the tools that are in your tool shed. And sometimes you let the tools that are in your tool shed get rusty, and eventually they become unusable to the point where like you might as well not have them in the first place. God forbid you think you actually have them. Right? And so over the course of your lifetime, your tool shed gets bigger, or at least better equipped. You like pimp that shit out. And I believe it has been my experience, at the very least, that you can't rely on other people to save you.
No.
You need to be able to save yourself. And my mom taught me a lot of really hard lessons, and that was really one of them, many of them. My mom died of cancer when I was 22 and she was 42. And so the tool shed metaphor is like a big one for me because I have meticulously built that and crafted that for myself. And like I am aware of what tools are in my tool shed. Like some are getting rusty, some are really sharp though, And like I don't want to apologize for any of my tool shed. I shouldn't have to. Like I come equipped, like this model of human comes equipped with all kinds of features and benefits.
You're a real Swiss Army knife, girl. Like,
right?
And I want someone who appreciates that about me. Like when I hear a man say that like, it's a little off-putting how independent I am. I'm just like, well, it's a little off-putting that like you need me to be dependent. And like, can we not just like have feelings for each other? Do you have to feel like I need you? Why?
No, because whether it's consciously or subconsciously, I think every couple or every partner and every couple is wondering, like, what do I bring to the table? Am I in the green or am I in the red in this relationship? And the people who don't care are not the kind of people you want to be in a relationship with. Right.
But then there's also the kind of person who like always wants to be in the green and then you're always in the red. So then like they can feel secure.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to be too transactional about it, but like, honestly, that is how I think about it. And I don't ever want to run too, like, I want to know what value I provide to my partner so I can demonstrate more of it. Like, I want to know what you think that I bring to the table so that I can be like, oh, well, now I can bring more of that.
But that's a part of being in your 30s too, is that I don't just feel that about relationships. Like I feel that about I feel that about our friendship and our partnership. Like I feel
just
that
relationships in general.
In general, is I'm just like, okay, so like you're here and I value that you're here and that you show up for me and that you do these things. And I would like to understand what it is that I do for you so that I can make a point of it. You know?
Yeah. Keep on shining.
Yeah, no, I think that that's really, and I just think that like when you're in your 20s, you're just like a mindless consuming monster. Not everyone, I certainly was, but like I don't think it's not transactional. It's that you become more aware of the balance sheet. You become more respectful of people's time.
Yep.
You realize that like in your 30s, when you're in your 20s and your friends show up for you, nobody has any shit else to do and no one cares. Everybody's just like working at TGI Fridays or whatever.
Nobody's wasting time because everyone's wasting time.
Exactly. And so like your friends and all, you can all get together every single day. But like when somebody shows up for me now, I understand that we are all exhausted, that we are all working our asses off also because that's the kind of people I surround myself with. You know what I mean? They have a million other things going on. They're probably going through all their own shit. So when I have a friend who like takes the time to like ask me how I am, I'm just like, you're my bitch for life. What do you need? Let me like put an alarm in my phone if that's what it takes so that I know that I'm going to show up for you and remember to like text you about
your breakup that you just had.
Or whatever.
The date that you went on.
Right. And so it's not just relationships.
No, I agree with you. It is something that I focus on though. And I think that like once you reach a certain age, whatever age that is, you want to provide value and have value provided to you in return. Right?
Yeah, like you want to take care of people and you want to be taken care of. And you start to realize how precious it is when you have that dynamic with someone where you both look out for each other.
I do want to go back to like men being intimidated by successful women, not to like delve into my own personal relationship shit.
No, you might as well, girl. We're here. Right? Let's do this.
No, but like tell me it hasn't been an issue for me.
No, I've seen it consistently be an issue for you. And it's becoming a huge issue for me. Like, we both don't get great feedback on that. We both have men tell us constantly that we work too much.
All the time. So, like, to give the listeners a little bit of background, I started the Content Factory in 2010 with $500 and some SEO skill. That $500 went into a website. And then like eventually I turned it into the agency that it is today. I have a dozen employees spread out over, more than a handful of states. And we all work for like remotely from home or wherever. I'm in Amsterdam. I've got members of the team kind of scattered all over the US. They're all employees. But I grew a successful agency from nothing.
Yeah.
With no investment, like no outside capital. This is my brain baby that I built from scratch. And I did it because I'm good at what I do and unapologetically so. I'm an expert in my industry and I like it.
Yeah, girl.
I like being good at what I do. It's something that, again, I'm not going to apologize for. It's something that I'm proud of. It's something that I continually work on. It's like always a work in progress. And it's like a work in it's a labor of love, this work in progress. And like I have a real career and I have a real business, and that business is worth a certain amount of money. And when I date people, it's a challenge sometimes because I have been featured in Fast Company. NBC News called me a CEO who takes job perks to the max. Thrive called me a limit-breaking female founder. And I don't say any of this to brag, but like, fuck it, I earned those accomplishments. Do you know what I mean? Those are mine and I can claim them. Those are like my receipts. And consistently, I'm sorry I'm getting emotional, but like consistently throughout my like dating career, you know, I have... Guys don't really like that, it turns out. They think that they think that they're going to. They say that they do, but they like really don't. They're intimidated by it.
And they won't even make space for it. Like a lot of times, like not only do they not like it, but you can't even talk about it. Like,
no.
You know?
No.
Like you can't even talk about your accomplishments. Oh, and then you add the like, oh, by the way, I have a successful podcast. Oh, by the way, I've traveled the world. You know what I mean? And suddenly there's all kinds of men who like
don't want that at all, actually, and are very intimidated by it. But like, they're not going to tell you that up front. What they're going to do is just like
slowly tear you down over time, just like invalidate you and undermine you and not listen and like refuse to acknowledge your accomplishments. Because like, what I don't need is someone to like kiss my ass. I'm not looking for someone to like be all in awe of me or anything.
I don't want that at all.
But when I've worked so hard for stuff and then like something good happens, I want to be with somebody who can be like, yes, bitch. You know, like that's like what I want from my partner.
Just like a high five. I'm so proud of you. Like, let's go out to dinner to celebrate your accomplishment. Not just like, well, I think you could have phrased that sentence a little bit better.
Right. No,
in your quote in the New York Times.
No,
fuck
it's
you.
Exhausting, and I go out on all these first dates, and I just like I talk to men about my career, and I like literally see the light go out in their eyes, and I'm just like, okay, well, I guess I should have just stayed working at the mall, because when I was doing that, I had men coming out of my fucking ass, but now, like when I'm a real human, I'm interesting. I have skills. I'm a hard worker.
You bring things to the table.
Right? Like I know all kinds of stuff, honestly. And then like these dudes, it's like, and there's this weird dynamic that happens with a certain kind of guy who realizes that like, oh, I could help them with their career.
That happens to me a lot.
Right?
I own a PR agency and I can get people quoted.
Right. And then they're like, oh, you can help me. And then they like that. But then they also...
resent it.
They resent it also. And it's just like, I can't fucking win. And all I want is for somebody to like actually love me enough to like care that I've worked so hard and that I'm doing this and that like it matters to me. And I would like it to be about me and that like this is something about me. This is my passion and this is my hard work and this is my drive. And I would like you to see it and appreciate it as a part of me and not feel like it's somehow a threat against you or somehow make it about you. Like can I just have this? Can I just have this thing?
That I earned and that I built for myself and that I deserve because I got it for myself.
Right. And does having this thing that I love so much, because you know what? At the end of the day, I'll choose my career. I still will.
I will choose my career because no guy that I would want would make me choose.
Right. No, and I want...
And for what?
No, and I fucking love it. And it's just like, but the fact that I do, as I lay awake in the night, I am all too aware of the fact that in some ways I've made myself undateable. Like being an interesting, successful woman is not a good move.
No, ask Candice Bergen's character in Sex and the City. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like it's just... and I'm not saying that it's bad. And I'm not saying that it's impossible. And I've got high hopes for Nico. Like, you know... Like
no,
good
Nico
things.
appreciates that about you, and that's why like I'm so supportive of that relationship, is because like he really values that you are an entrepreneur and that you've built a business and that you have employees, and I think that like he values that like you understand the struggles that come with like having a business and having people depend upon you, and also like taking risk and like what
the demands, the weight,
and how it's just kind of like endless, you know? Because, like, I have to explain to people when I go out with them that I'm just like, listen, I'm not trying to be rude and I will ignore my phone as much as possible. But, like, my phone is never off. I have my main client is on the West Coast. They are 9 hours behind me and they are in the office until 7 p.m., which means that, like, it's 4 a.m. here before they leave the office. And so, like, I'm always a lot of times I can ignore it, but every once in a while, like I have to check, like I have to look at my phone, and like men just don't even like that. And I'm just like, listen, it's not that big of a deal. It's so rare that I'm actually going to have to stop and do something. But just even the fact that I'm just like, listen, this is the way it is. And like on a date, I'm going to have to like, when my phone buzzes, I've got to check the screen and just like,
make sure it's okay.
Yeah, like make sure nothing's on fire, you know?
Even when the men are more successful than me, it's still been an issue. Like it's especially an issue.
No, isn't that weird?
It's especially an issue when it's like unclear who's on top.
Right, because then they're constantly running the math. And it's just like, can you stop though?
No, because like I'm a competitive person, but they're probably I don't like I'm not competitive. Like man,
I'm not competitive with my romantic partners.
No, I want my partner to have the best career and the most success and just catch all the happiness that they can grab at a time. Do you know what I mean?
No, I just want to see them win. And I just want to be with a man who wants to see me win. And that's a really hard thing to find.
No, and then also I think that it's difficult for men when they are the one who's successful and they meet somebody who scratches all of these itches, the classic manic pixie dream girl type.
Right.
Right? And then like, but they don't have a career.
But I feel like there's so many men, like when I just look at the market, there's so many men who pick that, you know? And I'm just like, surely someone out there must want a partner.
Like a real partner?
Right. Like not a ward.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, not a trophy, not a doll to dress, not a thing to be idolized either, though. No. I just like, I just want to have like a connection with somebody that's real. I keep saying all I want is somebody to run with. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm in the stage of my life where I can really start running. Like I have done all of the strength training. The path is clear and laid out for me. And like all I want is somebody to run with and like share an awesome life with and like not give me shit as a result of their insecurities, but then also not leave me because I've got my own insecurities. And that's it. Dude's going to leave me for somebody 10 to 15 or 20 years younger in about 5-10 years.
Right.
And so it's like constantly running that math and like not to hard transition too quickly into the next point, but financial incompatibility is a real thing. Speaking of running the math, because like who has debt? Who does not have debt? Like so maybe one partner has savings and another partner has debt.
Yeah, like one of you has a good credit score and the other one has a terrible credit score. But then like when you marry somebody, you're marrying all of that.
Yeah, but what if you don't marry? Like at what point are you with somebody who has a worse credit score than you or like no savings or just makes significantly less than you? And this is for either gender. I'm not saying this in like a gender specific way at all. But like so you love this person and you guys move in together. Like at what point do you merge finances, if at all? And like how do you shake out the like, I know that you don't have money to pay for this, so it's just understood that when you come out with me, I'm going to pay for it and there's not going to be any resentment there. But like, is there going to be resentment there?
Right? Because here's the thing is that like I've got all these friends who got married in like their early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And those people, they didn't have dick when they got together.
Right.
You know? And so they combined everything and then they both like became a partnership, like a couple, and then they worked together towards this like shared vision for their life. And under those circumstances, it makes a lot of sense to combine your finances. But when you're two grown-ass adults in your 30s, it's a whole other thing because first of all, like both of you probably actually have some assets, you know? Like you don't have nothing.
Right.
You got something.
Or maybe you've got nothing and somebody has something, or maybe you both have nothing. But then how are you going to get that apartment when
but
both of you have a credit score of like 615?
No, and like you both probably have like debt.
Yeah.
Are you
a millennial?
States.
Are you a millennial?
Yeah.
Did you go to college?
Right.
Then it's not a matter of if, it's how much student loan do you have?
No, it's like, so you're both bringing, like people in their 30s are probably both bringing at least 5 figures of debt into a relationship. If you're not, you're like one of the lucky ones. And so then if you marry somebody, then you're marrying that debt too. And so now suddenly you're not just like, you're doubling your income, but you're also not just servicing your student loans, you're dealing with theirs too.
And at what point, if you don't get married, like at what point when one partner moves in, like how soon do you start having these conversations?
Well, and let's be real, that like this becomes tough because it seems like the right answer would be, why can't you just have a relationship with someone and you work it out, but you don't combine finances? I'd be fine with that. And like you don't, or maybe like, and you don't get married. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Let's move on to the kids issue, because this is another, let's talk about this. So in your 30s, so ladies, what's that sound? You tick, put your tick, 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 listen, you put your ear to those train tracks, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, what's it coming? Oh, it's the end of my fertility. And like, I have always been a hard no on the kids front, right? But like a lot of ladies think that they're a hard no on the kids front, or like a lot of ladies think that they have plenty of time. And then all of a sudden they're 35 or later, you know?
Right.
And they want to have a baby. And I know guys, I have guy friends who are just like, God, I'm getting into like my mid to late 40s, and like it's getting to be too late for me to have a kid. I'm going to be like 70 by the time the kid goes off to college.
Right.
And that's if I get started like tomorrow. And we've got a 9-month waiting period if like I'm able to cut into the front of the line. And then let's talk about harsh truths, because we just, you know, talked about how shitty it is to be a lady. But in a lot of cases, it's shitty to be a man, because I have multiple male friends who are successful, who have their shit together, and who look like prime baby making material.
Right.
Those hairlines are good, of the proper height.
They look like they could keep those checks coming.
You know, and they're, you know, out there enough to get casually laid, right? And then I have multiple guy friends who have gotten baby trapped by ladies who told them that they were on birth control or poked holes in the, literally, like one guy swears she had to have poked a hole in the condom. And like when the paternity test comes out and you are the father, you're on the hook for that for life. And if you don't want to have that child and that lady has some crazy misgivings about you guys living a long life of happiness together when like you don't even know this chick.
No, it's so terrible. And I think about that all the time, because as much as I like sometimes really resent having the burden of making sure that like we have to be on birth control. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like if I don't want to have a baby, like there's all this shit that I have to do, and like it's very much on me, and like that is annoying. But at the same time,
it's within your control.
It is in my control. And the idea that a woman can have a man's baby without his consent, and we do see it happen all the time, and it's just like, that sucks.
No, and then a person is made out of that. That person has anxiety, is going to wonder why the dad isn't showing up with smiles on Father's Day.
Right? And now that kid is going to have to deal with that shit forever. But at the same time, does a man, I think that in a civilized society, I believe that a woman should be able to decide not to have a baby. But I think that on this flip side, in a civilized society, a man should be able to decide. Like before that baby is born, that man should be able to be like, you know what? Nah. And I'm out. And like, that should be okay, because like no one should be forced into parenthood.
This might be controversial, but I agree with you. And I have a very good friend of mine who, you know, met a 19-year-old Tinderella, and he's in his late 30s. And they had a time together, and he was traveling a lot, and so there were very specific dates. And she hit him with I'm pregnant and it's definitely yours. And this is one of those guys who really wants to be a dad, and was actually just like, well, all right, this is my time. I'm going to step the fuck up. You know, he flew her out to where she was, and then on the way out, she brought a baby on her lap because she already had one that she didn't mention.
Jesus.
Just
like, here, this is yours.
Just no bonus baby
from your loins.
You know, and she was
cereal now.
No, but listen, stop. No, but like she was 19, so like she gets to make some mistakes, but that's what happens when you date a 19-year-old ballerina. And so like this lady's pregnant, she comes out, he tells the family, everyone's ready, and then like all of a sudden, you know, the timelines aren't really adding up, because you can't really be 10 months pregnant.
No. You sure can't.
And so when that happens, it was like a friend's heartbreak, and he was devastated, and he was like ready for a kid and to be a dad. And like, and so like, it really does go both ways. And it's just a shitty and scary situation, especially as we're all running out of time.
Well, and that's what makes it so fucked up, is that like the kids thing was so hypothetical in your 20s. And now in your 30s, this is like first date, if not before first date conversation, which is not sexy on any level. It's not fun.
No, I filter on it. I'm just like, do you want to have kids? Because I don't. And I'm not going to like waste your time.
No, and it's tough for me because I almost feel like it's locked me more into the not having kids thing.
Right.
Because I think that when I was younger, I always left the door open to it, where it was like, well, if I met somebody who was like a good enough partner that I felt like I wasn't going to be alone in this, and I really thought that like we were going to raise this family together. You know, there are things about a family that I really crave. And like there is a universe in which I could have done that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But where I am right now at 33 and with my career and all of that, when a guy comes to me right out the gate and is like, I want to have kids and that's non-negotiable, I've got to cut that dude off right away because I can't promise it. You know what I mean? Like not on a first date and not probably a few months in. Like I need a whole lot more information than that. And like I'm not really even interested in burning that kind of daylight. And I mean, I'm not interested in wasting anyone else's time. When someone comes to me and say that like they have this real wish for a child, I'm just like, well, it sounds like you should probably go do that. And I am like a hard maybe. So like, I don't think that's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Right. Certainly not in a rushed fashion.
No, and that there is a very good chance. Like when I say there's like I think there's a sliver of a chance that I might have considered to do it with somebody, but I think there's like a good fucking 85 to 95% chance that, you know, 2 or 3 years down the road when we're like, all right, really shit or get off the pot time, that I'm going to feel exactly the way that I feel right now. You know what I mean?
Right, you're going to get off the pot.
And I'm just not interested.
Not going to shit that baby out.
No, and I'm not interested in wasting my time or anyone else's. But then there's these camps, right? There's the wants kids and the don't want kids. And then there's the like has kids and doesn't have kids. And so you're constantly negotiating like all of that because to be clear, when you're in your 30s, like basically every dude you go on a date with is probably going to have a kid somewhere.
Oh, and he might not even tell you for a while.
Right?
Depending on his level of involvement.
Right. And then you have to suss all that out because here's the thing is that I 1000% don't believe that a man should have to raise a kid just because a lady insisted on having his child. Because here's the thing is that it's the same thing with women and like abortions. It's like if you say that like a woman should have to have any baby that she gets inside of her.
Right.
You know what I mean? What you're basically saying then is that a woman should not, like a grown adult ass woman shouldn't be able to have sex. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry, but like that's just part of being an adult and like functioning. It's healthy. You know what I mean? So like what are these single men, are they not supposed to have sex at all?
You're losing me a little bit. I feel like
no, I mean like I'm just saying like it, like I think that people should be able to opt out because the only other option is to say that they're not allowed to have sex.
Yes, because no birth control method is 100% effective and there's always going to be some outlying cases. And how you deal with the outliers is how you deal with everything, I think. I think it's a humanitarian issue, personally. But you also have to watch out for the dudes who legitimately like had babies and then like walked away from them. Oh.
Because like if a man will
leave his kids and the lady that had those kids, then chances are he's going to leave you too.
No, like you can't.
You can't trust that.
You can't trust him.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust that. So, like, also, what do you do when a guy tells you that he has a kid or multiple kids? And not all the time, but some of the time. But, like, for me, I have actively made the decision to not have children. So, for me to take on a relationship where I am then taking on, you know, all of the soccer practices and, like, dance recitals and, like, things that I actively opted out of is a conscious decision throughout my adulthood.
Right.
I have lost relationships or potential relationships because I did not want to have a child.
Yeah, I lose them constantly, actually. It's like the biggest.
And so, like, I'm not going to for me, I'm not going to take that on, but other people might. But that's like a whole different conversation. And people who have children, for people who have children, you're not just dating for yourself, you're dating for those kids too. And that just adds such an additional layer of complexity. And if that person has kids too, and then you're not only dealing with that partner and your kids and that partner's kids, and like making sure that everyone feels loved and accepted and like welcome and whole, and all of the things that parents really concern themselves with regards to like ensuring that their children thrive, which I think is what every parent desperately wants for their children, right? But then you're also dealing with those exes,
right? And here's the other thing:
baby mama and baby daddy.
No, and going back to what we were talking about before with the time issue, is that, so if you date a guy with kids, I actually am not totally opposed to it. I feel like there is a much better chance of me deciding to be a stepmom than me deciding to be a mom. Like,
right.
That's like a lower bar.
You get to skip the pregnancy thing.
Right. And like, it's just, I think I could maybe do that. Also, I come from a big blended family. I've got a lot of love to give.
A real like, Brady Bunch situation.
Yeah. And like, I think that I could handle a man with children. However, if you start dating a guy with kids, you're not going to meet those kids right away. And I'm not trying to be a dick, but like, listen, some kids are terrible. Like, some kids are just legitimately awful. And I know that you're not allowed to say that, but like there are degrees of children. You know what I mean? And like, if this dude, and you're not going to get to see it because he's not going to introduce you to the kids right away, right? So if they like have a real discipline problem and you've got these like little monsters running around ruining everyone's life, like, you're not going to know that right away. Also, you're not going to have a real clear view of what that relationship with the ex looks like. Because like, listen, I am willing to do this under circumstances. Are these children, like, listen, all kids have bad days. They melt down.
Right.
They cry. They do all manner of children things, and I am so fully aware of that, and that's fine. But like, I want to feel like these are some kids whose lives I want, like because you're kind of dating the kids too. Like, you want to feel like you want to get involved in their lives.
Well, it's a whole family thing,
right? And that's not unconditional for me. I would need those kids to be kind of cool, And then like, also, I need to know what your relationship with your ex is like, because what I'm not going to do is sign up for a whole lifetime of dealing with like your emotional wreckage. You know what I mean? Like, can you guys get along? Like, is this going to be cool at some point? Like, maybe we're not going to like vacation together or anything, but like,
or maybe we will.
No, my family did. After my dad died, like my mom and my stepdad and me and my brother, and then like my stepmom, and then like the 3 kids that she had with my dad, we all went on vacation together and had a very nice time. But like, that's what I'm looking for is, for me to do it, I would need to know that like a real family could be built out of this, and that we could be respectful of each other and all of that. But anyways, how long is it going to be? If that man's responsible, it's going to be a minute till you meet those kids.
Months.
And then like, you could get so far in and like really fall in love with someone, and then be like, oh, never mind, I actually can't do this.
Which would be a fair tap out point. Like, you can tap out at any point, and the sooner the better. And when it's no longer a fuck yes and it becomes a fuck no, tap the fuck out.
Right. No, and you
especially
should.
when kids are involved. Like,
but when
with
you
the
say
kids
it makes you
thing,
more trigger shy. Like, with a dude with kids, I am infinitely more trigger shy, because I'm just like, am I going to invest a whole lot of time in this and then realize that like it's not a tenable situation?
I think that goes for men too.
No, because I think single ladies with kids go through this constantly.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the X factor. We have the X factor and the sexes factor left before we wrap this. How far are we in? Just way...
We're fine. Just keep going, girl.
All right. Well, yeah, I hope you guys liked the long episode. We have a lot to say, and this is still, again, part 1.
Right.
And a 3-parter. So, like, the X factor. Like, when you are at a certain age and point in your life, you have a string of exes and failed relationships behind you.
Right, but those were also like significant to you.
Yeah, and so are you still friends with them? And is it okay if your partner is still friends with their exes? Like, and how many? Like, do you get to be friends with all of your exes? But if you're not friends with any of your exes, what does that say?
No, because I see that as I used to be somebody who was like, you will not talk to your ex, and I would cause such fucking problems over it.
When was that? Was that like 15-year-old Kelly?
No, like in my 20s.
How late into your 20s? No judges.
Late enough that I should have known better.
Okay.
In that relationship that I talked about, that like I wish things had gone differently. He had an ex that was a friend of his, and to be fair, that bitch legitimately fucked with me and like tried to fuck with my head and like was doing things that she shouldn't have been doing. But like I had him and he was with me, and I should have cooled my tits and like not let her shake me in that way. You know what I mean?
Not let her see you sweat.
No, and I certainly shouldn't have used it to like constantly berate him and like cause major drama in our relationship, because like she wanted that power and then I gave it to her. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like I should not have done that. And my policy now is that like, of course, I hope that you're friends with some of your exes, because otherwise, because if you have to burn it all down when you walk out the door, then like that's not a good sign.
No, then what were you building in the first place? Like, how solid was that foundation? I've got questions when somebody no longer talks to any of their exes. On the other hand, I don't want them to be besties with their exes.
No, besties is a lot, but like every few months, because that's with the exes that I'm friends with, that's about what it is. It's like every few months to a year, there's like a convo. You know, we hit each other up. There's always a like I'll send you a special message on your birthday, not just like on your Facebook wall.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, I've got some that are more frequent than that. I have some exes that I talk to on a pretty regular basis, and we're actually pretty close friends. And, you know, exes is broadly defined.
Yeah.
Because as we're going to get into in the sexes section, some of us have had sex with friends at some point. And so that exists. But before we get into that, like, how do you deal with jealousy? Question 1. And question 2, how soon do you tell your partner? So, like, you know, you're dating a new guy and you've got this ex who's been your friend, or maybe he's not an ex, maybe he's a sex. Or it's sexes, you know, exes and sexes. And so you've got this friend that maybe you guys hooked up once or a few times, but like, it's cool. It's been cool for years. Been friends for, haven't hooked up since like 2008.
No, sometimes the people that you do that with are actually the people that then like they know you in a slightly different way, and then like you know them in a slightly different way. And so a lot of times those are the people that you actually go to for relationship advice.
Right.
You know, because like they kind of get it and like they know where you're coming from.
And you provide the same value to them.
Right. Like some perspective and some like honesty. And yeah, I mean, like I have people that I've been involved with romantically that I'm still very close with as friends, and some that I'm friends with in a more peripheral kind of way. But like I value those relationships so much, and I would never ask anyone at this stage in my life, although I was terrible about it in the past, like I would never ask someone at this stage in my life to give that up, because there are people in my life that I will not give up.
Right, me too.
And like I really don't care if you feel intimidated.
No, and if you feel that intimidated, then
I mean, I care. I'll talk to you about it. I will reassure you. I will show up. I will be compassionate and understanding. I will find ways to work with you so that you don't, you know, I'll have boundaries.
Right.
Like all of that's fine. But what I'm not going to do is not talk to that person anymore.
No, and I've had exes ask me, like, you need to cut off all of your exes. And I'm just like, you know, I'm not going to do that, though.
No, because these people are important.
They're important to me, and they provide value to my life. They bring value. Like, I am a better person with these people in my life, and I'm happy to explain that to you. Again, I'm willing to stay within boundaries too, but what I'm not going to do is let your small hands make my crown too heavy so that I need to remove jewels from my crown. Like I'm not going to do it. And I have a policy.
To be cheesy, but what are the bigger, what jewels in your crown are bigger than like the true friendships that you have?
I was going to say that's not cheesy at all, but then the more that I thought about it, I thought it was incredibly cheesy, but I think that it's a really apt, you know,
when I look at the accomplishments of my life, the like true friendships and connections that I have are the things that I'm like value the most and I'm most proud of. And you better believe I'm not ditching any of them.
No, I'm not going to. I made that decision. I have made that decision in the past that like, well, if it's this or that, it's going to be this, and you can like that on off into the sunset. But like, I have a policy, and I know that you and I differ on this. I have a policy that if I am going to introduce like a new boyfriend or a new relationship to somebody who I had any kind of sexual past with, I will give my partner a heads up in advance. And I have had varying degrees of success with this particular method and tactic.
Yeah, girl, listen, I hear you and I see you and I feel like that is so mature and responsible, but I am on a firm don't ask, don't tell. I will not lie. Like, I will not lie about it. But I am not. If it's an ex, I feel like that's one thing. I won't lie about an ex.
Okay.
I would give someone a heads up about like a legitimate ex or like someone that I had like a more deeply, like intimately entangled relationship with. Mm-hmm. But there's exes and then there's sexes.
There are. And so now it's time to get to the exes and sexes.
Right.
Focusing on the sexes section. Because, again, who hasn't had sex with a friend?
No, you get to your 30s and it's just like you've all been hanging out for a while. And
40s,
like you get drinks
50s.
together. Like,
you keep saying 30s, but like I have friends in my 40s or in their 40s and in their 50s who it's the same shit, different day, honestly.
No, and I feel like actually the reason I don't talk about the sexes with, I will introduce somebody who I'm dating to a friend that I've had sex with and not tell them about it. Because, like, if they ask me, I will tell them. Mm-hmm. But it's also, like, it's only ever gone badly for me and it only ever becomes a problem. And it's just, like, and I never understand why. I can understand being intimidated by the exes, but even then, like, that relationship ended for a reason. But, like, with a friend that you've had sex with, it's just like,
and not for a long time.
No,
probably.
And you're just like, well, we did it a couple times or just that once, or there was that one weird summer or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just like, but I know this dude. I know him so fucking well. I know his family. You know what I mean?
Right.
And like,
we've been through some shit together.
No, and like
as friends.
And I see him all the time. We drink together.
Mutual friends.
I've stayed at his place. He's in my phone. Like, I could, if I wanted to be with this person, if we wanted to be together, believe that we would be.
Right.
You know
I think that people in general should be more concerned and threatened by exes more so than sexes. I agree with you.
Yeah, but I don't even like going there, because then it's like, when I'm, as much as I'm unwilling to give up my exes, I'm willing to set like more boundaries. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm willing to be like, I'd be willing to discuss what that looked like and like have real boundaries and like make it so that they felt comfortable with my exes. But with my just like dear friends who like at some point I had sex with one drunken night back in 2007, which who remembers that year anyways, not me.
Yeah, right.
But like,
that was a tough year for Britney.
No, 2007 to 2009 is a real mystery to me.
One of my favorite memes is like, if Britney can get through 2008, you can get through today.
Right, exactly. No, and it's like, so, and then you're going to have a problem. It's just like, yeah, but like it was just that one time though. Nobody was that into it. Like,
right. Trust me, it would have been a recurring thing had either of us wanted that.
Right.
Except for we didn't and we don't.
No, so I personally don't talk about it.
I still.
And I don't ask. Because sometimes I'll be dating somebody and I'll like get a vibe with a friend of theirs. Because you can kind of tell. You know?
Oh, I get pissed. Not really. Like on a scale of one, like internally, I get like a level 7.5 pissed internally when I find out that I meet somebody that my partner has had some sort of sexual relations with, or relationship, pick your poison with, and you can suss out that energy. And
no, I know immediately.
Yeah, like there's never any goddamn question, right? And so like, instead of me wondering, which like I already know the answer to that question, if you could just prep me leading into that, I very much appreciate it, because then I don't feel like there's like a secret there's no secret. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you're not hiding anything. And to me, it's very important. And so like with, again, mixed results, not always great. And sometimes it's been fine. In the best relationships, it's been fine.
I just know
but
that like,
I feel the onus is on me to give my partner a heads up that like, hey, if you sense something is off, you're not crazy. This is like, it happened, but like, it's not a thing. So don't worry about it.
I don't know. I feel like in my younger years, I needed to know everything. And I wanted to know every single fucking detail. And I was going to analyze everything on this like really granular level so that I could figure out everything, so that I could figure out if I was about to get cheated on, so that I could decide if I was safe. You know what I mean? And so like for me, I, at this point in my life, really don't ask questions that I don't want the answer to. Like, as long as I feel about someone that I believe in my bones that if I ask them a question that they will tell me the truth, then there's all kinds of questions that suddenly I don't need to ask anymore. You know?
Right.
And it's when I need to ask all those questions that suddenly I'm like, I need out of this relationship because like I don't trust you. You know? But if I trust that somebody would tell me the truth, then suddenly it gives me a lot of freedom because I'm like, I believe that you'd tell me, and therefore I don't need to know.
Right. Okay, so this is, I think this concludes this section 1 of a 3-part series of the relationship section of workationing, dating in your mid to late 30s and beyond. The next episode is going to be dating in the digital era.
Because that's a good time. Who doesn't love that?
No, we've got a lot to talk about.
It's like literally half the episodes of Black Mirror. It's like surreal post-apocalyptic bullshit.
It is. It changes everything. Like your parents didn't date this way. They didn't have these stresses or considerations. And then the last one's going to be relationship, when to walk away and when to run away screaming.
Right.
Because I think that that's something that like we all need to talk about. And we're curious. This is a vulnerable episode for us. Actually, at one point during this episode, each of us cried.
Yeah.
And so be kind, but also we are genuinely interested. Are you guys feeling the stress? Is it just us in our vacuum echo chamber? Pop on over to the Workationing Facebook group.
Facebook.com/groups/workationing.
That's Facebook.com/groups/workationing. And please pop us some feedback, because if you're struggling, you're not alone. If you think that we are wildly off base and we miss some things that you really want to see represented or hear represented, pop us a note. And we've got 2 more episodes coming at you hot that have yet to be recorded. And I would like to include it, or at least consider your perspective.
Definitely. Like, we're very open to feedback. Also, if you are going through a lot of this stuff also, we really can't recommend BetterHelp enough.
I love my internet therapist. And if you're struggling out here on these dating streets, no matter what your age is, if you're just struggling, you just don't go it alone.
No, because honestly, something that was so vulnerable for me about recording this episode, and I'm still a little scared, is that like we said all kinds of stuff that like you don't get to say, you know? And like I feel very strongly about it. So we're just going to like grit our teeth and release this thing. But like it makes me so aware of the fact that there are all kinds of things that people aren't allowed to say about dating and relationships.
Or they feel like they're not
aging.
allowed to talk about.
Right. And so like if you need some help with that and like you need someone to listen, having an internet therapist has been invaluable for both of us. So, you know, consider it. It's cheaper, it's easier, it's more convenient. BetterHelp.com/workationing.
That is BetterHelp.com/workationing.
This chick cannot even contain her radio voice. She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Am I on? It's time."
I used to work in radio advertising. Sometimes it comes out, right? You know, there was one time when I pretended to, in one day, these ads were running simultaneously on a bunch of different radio stations. I was both a stripper for a gentleman's club.
Oh, girl, like with your voice, though?
Can't wait for you to come in.
Just like, hey.
You know, come see me.
My name's Candy.
Yeah, something like that. I can't remember what my name was. It doesn't matter.
Was it cheerleaders?
Girl, no. I'm not going to say anything. I cannot say anything. It's a not confirmed.
Was it blush?
Listen, I'm not going to say anything. I can't tell you which. Stop it.
These are the names of Pittsburgh strip clubs.
I am not, right? It was one of them. Not those two necessarily, but it was one of the Pittsburgh strip clubs.
Okay.
I was like the voice of, but then also I was the voice of a daycare center too, just like a mom. I was mom 1, and then there was mom 2, and we were talking about just, so difficult to find the right place.
I hope there was someone out there who was like, I think mom 1 works at cheerleaders.
On that note, I think we did it.
Yeah, I think we did it. This has been another episode of the Workationing Podcast. If you like what you've heard here, please consider donating at patreon.com/workationing. That's patreon.com. All proceeds will go towards funding our bucket list items.
To keep up with us in real time, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at Workationing. Or on our website at, you guessed it, workationing.com. That's workationing.com. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Check, check.
Check, check. Are you spritzing a red wine?
Can you stop? It's been a long day.
You can't spritz a red wine.
Girl, I can spritz whatever the hell I want to. I'm a grown-ass adult, and if I want to just, like, liven up my... you put it in white.
You can't put it in red. If you put it in white, it's classy. If you put it in red, it's white trash. You know this.
Okay.
She really does spritz red wine, though.
I do. I spritz white as well. I just like I spritz.
No, but you like spritz indiscriminately.
It's hydration.
Jesus Christ, it's such a mess.